Hi everyone, it's Emily with Nexus Youth and Family Services, and today we're going to be talking about tools for tough moments, managing challenging child behaviors. So let's get started. So first we're going to briefly go over the stages of development to get a better context for some of the challenging behaviors that we might be seeing. So our first stage that we'll be talking about today is ages 4 through 6, and Erickson calls this initiative versus guilt stage. So children, they're learning how to take charge and try new things, but they're also learning about boundaries. And so during this phase, children need encouragement to explore the world around them while also having boundaries enforced. And then we have ages 7 through 12. Erickson calls this industry versus inferiority. So children are learning resilience through trial and error, and they're having much more peer interaction. So children are needing constructive feedback and social support, academic support, and they need support in their personal interests and learning about who they are and trying new things. So some common behaviors we're going to see in the ages 4 to 5 range are tantrums, hitting, kicking, pushing, poor impulse control, and a lot of saying no. And so what these behaviors are communicating, they're struggling to calm down or self-soothe. We see that with tantrums and the hitting, the lashing out. They're telling us they're overwhelmed, or they might be saying that they're unprepared for a transition. So transitions can be especially hard at this age. And then they're also just exploring limits, what limits are, and how limits and their autonomy interact. Ages 6 through 8, some common behaviors we'll see are being easily frustrated, avoiding challenges, increased social conflicts, and oversensitivity to correction or mistakes. And so what's being communicated here, feeling shame and awareness of their performance. So they're starting to become more self-aware, more aware of how they're coming across to others, and they're caring more about that. And they're also having an increased awareness of how others perceive them. They're wanting to protect against failure, and they want to do well, and they want to please parents especially. Then we have ages 9 through 12, some common behaviors we're seeing: power struggles, emotional outbursts, deflection with humor, or emotionally shutting down, struggling with perceived unfairness, withdrawing. And what they're communicating with these behaviors, they're needing increased autonomy and respect. They might be feeling out of control when they're having these emotional outbursts, or when they're deflecting things with humor. Feeling out of control, feeling anxiety, feeling shame and fear of judgment. We're starting to get into middle school here, so a lot of that fear of judgment and a lot of self-protection. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some tools for success for managing some of these behaviors and supporting kids as they're working through them. Predictability. So predictability helps to reduce anxiety, and it sets kids up for success. So some ways we can use predictability is by making a schedule, especially if it's a visual schedule that kids can follow so they know what to expect. Review and remind children of the schedule ahead of time. Use a timer and give verbal warnings. So that means 5 minutes left of playtime, then this. 3 minutes left, then this. And using that this then, laying out the schedule and expectations very clearly. Next we have co-regulation. So co-regulation helps children learn to self-soothe independently. And so a lot of this is modeling. So first you're regulating yourself. So that might mean taking a minute, taking a deep breath, doing a grounding exercise, whatever you need to do to feel calm in your body before attending to your child who's maybe throwing a tantrum. So get on their level, use eye contact, name the emotion you see. So I see you're really frustrated right now, or I see you're really mad right now. And then lead them in a calming exercise. So deep breathing, counting backwards, 5 senses. So that might be, I see you're really frustrated right now. I want to help you. First, let's take 3 deep breaths together. Or any sort of breathing exercise that resonates with your child. Next we have praise. So we're praising specific behaviors, specific and exact desired behaviors. So when you see it, call it out, catch them doing good, highlight effort and progress, And also provide meaning. Talk about what it means that they did well. Talk about what it means that they put in effort in this desired behavior that you've been working towards. Our next strategy is visual aids. Visual aids give children a tangible way to achieve success. So some examples are a visual schedule, visual scripts, visuals for rules, visual task instructions, choice boards, or transition visuals. So you can see on the slide here, there's some examples, but having a schedule of what we do, like our morning routine, having pictures, especially for little kids, we brush our teeth, get dressed, grab breakfast, whatever it is. And then having visuals of rules that are easy to point to when you're trying to manage behavior, and choice boards. So maybe that's when we're doing a screen-free time. There's a choice board of different pictures where you can choose different preferred activities that don't involve screens. Next, we have the tool of Connect Then Correct. This helps children establish safety and feel listened to, and it's more likely to get a productive outcome. So how to use this? This is something that we build over time. It's not a one-time thing. It's over time. So we're spending time with children regularly, building that connection, building that rapport, building that trust with them. Listen to them with full attention, name and validate their feelings, and then share your feelings and your thoughts in an age-appropriate way after you hear theirs. Focus on collaborative solutions once the child is calm. So like we talked about before, we're co-regulating and then collaborating on a solution once we're in that calmer headspace where we can use reasoning. Because when we're dysregulated, when we're throwing a tantrum and we try to reason with the child, it doesn't work. The brain isn't in the right space yet. It has to regulate first before we can collaborate and reason. Ask questions, ask clarity, and then hug, high five, or provide verbal affirmation. So we're building trust, we're maintaining that connection. Some things we want to avoid, first is taking it personally. It can be really easy to do. Some kids, they just know how to get to you, but remembering and reminding yourself that it's not personal, that they're just communicating a need through their behavior, it can really be grounding and help you remain calm, even when you're feeling upset, starting to get activated, remembering that it's not personal. Raising your voice, that can lead to increased dysregulation. Using aggressive body language, again, we're heightening the situation, we're heightening what's going on. Removing supports, sometimes we do that and we don't even realize we're removing supports, but anything that is supporting a child and regulating is something that we want to keep as a neutral item instead of a punishment by taking it or a reward by giving it. Using shame disrupts our connection, it disrupts trust, it doesn't build up a trusting relationship where we can learn and rebuild together with kids and have a really impactful positive influence on their behavior. And then also assuming that behavior is communicating defiance. A lot of times behavior is communicating a need, like we talked about. So trying to understand the need versus assuming immediately that we're communicating defiance, we're communicating that we don't care. So some things we do want to do, one is knowing our own triggers, knowing what behaviors a child does that especially trigger you. It doesn't mean that you're sensitive, it's very normal. Sometimes specific child behaviors just really get to us. So knowing what those are can be really helpful for then regulating yourself and having a plan ahead of time for how you'll do that. Especially things that are in the moment, like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's an example. That means naming 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you taste, 1 thing you can smell. So that can help us come back to the present moment, or it's taking 3 deep breaths, or it's grabbing a drink of water, different things like that. So you're you know what works for you and you have a plan going into it. And then modeling active listening and taking breaks. So that might be another way you regulate yourself. You say, I'm going to go have a drink of water, I'll be back. Right? Things like that where you're modeling what it's like to take a break and then come back together. And then be curious about what is being communicated. That goes back to what we talked about before, right? We're not assuming what's being communicated. We're not assuming it's defiant. We're trying to assume that the child has an unmet need that they're trying to communicate, and then we're helping to teach them a different way to communicate that in the future. So some of these strategies and different tools, they might not work for every kid. Some kids are going to have additional needs that need more specific support. There might be another diagnosis. Maybe we have ADHD, we have autism. There could be other things going on. So sometimes for when we need to ask for more help to get more specific support that we need, those are going to be if the behaviors are lasting for long periods of time. So for example, if we're having tantrums that are going past 20 minutes and it's just never ending and there seems to be no way to calm down, we've tried everything, that might be a time where there might be something else going on. And so reaching out for more help would be the best thing to do. Another example is if behaviors are increasing in time or intensity, if they're just getting longer and longer, or intensity, if kids are starting to harm themselves when they're getting frustrated, if they're becoming more violent, if any of these behaviors are just becoming more and more disruptive, and enduring longer time, that might be an example of when we want to reach out for more help. And then if the child is not responsive to a variety of support strategies. So different support strategies will work for different kids. Not every kid will resonate with different strategies. So being, aware that different kids have different needs. But if we've tried a variety of strategies and lots of different ways to get the kid support and do what works for them, and nothing seems to be working, that's another time where reaching out for more help will be the best idea. So now let's talk about some resources that are available for when you are identifying that behaviors are getting more intense and we're needing more help. So one example is our organization, Nexus Youth and Family Services. We provide a wide variety of supports for families and children, from parenting classes to counseling, and everything in between. So you will find our information on the next slide, but please feel free to give us a call or stop by and we can help refer you to the right supports that you're looking for. And then we have the Child Mind Institute and Love and Logic. Those are both nonprofits that provide tons and tons of resources for parenting and families. So if you go to either of their websites, you'll find lots of resources, there's podcasts, there's videos, there's handouts on all sorts of different topics across a wide variety of ages. So there's a lot of resources and support there. And then school support staff, so reaching out to teachers, reaching out to school administration, school counseling, asking what support is available and how you can be part of that. Those are all options for when things are starting to become, needs are increasing. And then we have our surveys. Please, if you would, take those. They're very helpful for us. And thank you so much. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And feel free to visit our website to get more information about the services we provide. Thank you.